Hello again. So I'm just about to leave in about 1 minute to a trip from Germany to Albania. If I make it, there is a stop in Dubrovnik in very southern Croatia. Where I'll be meeting a friend, and yeah, it's gonna be a very big adventure again on my little Hercules here. This time I'm taking a gas tank along because I have been in northern Albania in the mountains before, and sometimes there's a great lack of civilization there. So this time a spare tank, and my GPS holder. Well, actually, I use the phone. Battery is right here in there to keep everything alive, and it just had been rebuilt. Well, there was a new Pleuelstange, I don't know the English word, put into it, and and I put in a smaller sprocket at the end, in order to make sure that it runs a little bit smoother, that it doesn't have to go all the time. Doesn't drive any more than 50 anyway, even with a smaller sprocket, but it's a lot calmer, the ride. So we'll see how far I get. Well, I'm now between Regensburg and Munich, closer to Munich than to Regensburg, and now this beautiful southern Bavaria starts again. It's starting to become my absolute favorite. I've been driving through the world, but I must say, where I live is rather spectacular. So I have now another 5 hours of this type of driving ahead of me, and looking very much forward to it. So I'm having my first repair. I'm this first 100 kilometers complete. I'm behind Landshut. And what happened is that this gear switcher popped out like this. And as a result, the clutch relaxed too much and the screw fell out right at the bottom here. So I had to put the screw back in, put the cable back in, put the handle back in. And in order to do all that, I had to remove the carburetor. So now I'm putting everything together and I should be okay. Over and out. All right, that wasn't too bad. It's running again, and cost me about a half hour, which is actually for a repair not too bad. So I made it to Austria. The other side of the tunnel here is Germany, and this is Austria. Well, I must say, it's been a very tough slog so far. Yesterday, before I got going, I still had to do so many things. So I only left at 12:30, and I had also still at home fiddled around with the moped and tightened the chain once more and made sure everything is all right. And so it took me till 12:30 in the afternoon before I could get going. And so now the day was shortened, and then I had 2 breakdowns. And so found a still, well, for this time of period, reasonably priced hotel. It has been very slow going. And then this morning there was frustrating traffic because in Austria, or as you get to Austria, there are fewer and fewer roads available. Just because of the mountains. So through the valleys there's usually one highway, and then one smallish road where all the traffic jams through. So it was a tough slog so far, but then there's sometimes the GPS tells you turn right here, and all of a sudden there's this tiny road that nobody uses. and you're in the middle of the mountains and the rich and luscious meadows and very nice farms and buildings and stuff like this. It's truly a very, very beautiful experience. And so those moments then all of a sudden where sort of the world opens up and you're slowly putt-putting through this extreme beauty is really something. So I'm in a better mood now. What time is it? It is close to 11 o'clock. I have been on the road for 2.5 hours. And things are looking up. The Moped's doing reasonably well. And we'll hope for the best. We'll see what happens. So, I just wanted to give you proof. This is the very last video. I was here about a month ago. We are now smack in the middle of the Alps, and I stopped here last time too, but with the big difference now that after the renovation of the engine, even at almost 1500 meters, it's got idle. That's new. Wow. So here's an interesting bit. Here's a long tunnel coming up. And because it's only 2-lane, a little moped isn't allowed to drive through. So there is a little phone inside. There's a little red door in the tunnel there. And there is a phone. And you call and they pick you up with a shuttle and drive you through the tunnel. So that's a first. Very interesting. Beautiful up here. And while I'm waiting, they said it's 15 to 20 minutes. I'm having a goulash soup here. I hope it's good. Well, I'm in this beautiful little town. It's just at the border between Italy and Tyrol, which is southern Austria. And I had just the most beautiful civilized piece of cake, a Himbeerkuchen, a raspberry cake. It was a very fluffy cheesecake filling and a beautiful bottom and a very civilized cup of coffee. It was very nice here in this cafe. It was beautiful. And of course, right behind it is little Moped. So I'm going on. I still have another 115 kilometers to go, and I think I might be then already in Croatia. We'll have to find out. Well, little Moped, we just went over another pass about 1400 meters high. We now made it to Italy. Woohoo! Wow, it is absolutely gorgeous now. The mountains were really, really tough. I had to do 3 high passes, mountain passes with poor Moped, and he did very well. I didn't have to change the main jet in the carburetor. It all carried out. And now all of a sudden I'm out of the mountains and I'm driving through Italy, northern Italy. It's starting to get flat. The mountains are behind me. It started raining also in the mountains, and it was slippery and traffic and serpentines like crazy, and wow, it was tough, but I am through. And this sudden change, of course, it's always the case. As soon as you leave the Alps, the skies tear open, the Italian sun comes out. It is absolutely gorgeous. So you can still see a last goodbye to the Alps here. And the scenery then, this is what's just behind me. Here the beautiful sunset. And then very often or on any corner.
Rechts abbiegen auf Via Osovana.
Church towers peeking out. What a beautiful change. All right, we are in this beautiful small city, Palma Nova. It's, by the way, sort of day 2.5. I arrived late last night, and this morning I'm exploring this a little bit, and it's just very, very beautiful. It's an old suburb of Udine. That's the nearest really big town here, but it's sort of floating with not much around, sort of in northern Italy here. And this is kind of why I love Italy, because these treasures are everywhere. And of course it's warm and sunny. That's the big promise. So here's the Plaza Grande, I'm sure it's called something like this. And there, beautiful cathedral. We're gonna have a quick look inside. So we will still walk back together from to the hotel. So there's where that plaza was, and we're going straight back to the hotel. It's really a very cute little suburb here. Wow. And the people are very friendly. Tourism is at a very pleasant level. So the cafes are half full. And here is my hotel, Commercio. And that's the practical thing with a little mofa. Here's the entrance door, and there's the mofa. And by the way, this is Frank, my namesake. We met over breakfast, and we had a very, very pleasant conversation. It was lovely meeting you, Frank.
Nice to meet you.
Bye. All right, so in 250 meters, I'll be in Slovenia. So that's now the 4th country the little moped has been in. And then after only a few kilometers, that's when Croatia starts. So, hey, I'm getting somewhere. So it's about an hour after the last video clip. I am now just entered in Croatia. And I must say it is impressive to still see, because these are all old communist countries. These were fortresses, these borders. I mean, massive buildings, and they're all abandoned, obviously, and still some big passing stations and so on, where there used to be passport control. And I must say, I'm enjoying, again, very much to be European and in Europe, because all that is gone. That is really beautiful. So now it's off to the coastline of Croatia. Yeah, so the 2 photos you just saw are from the harbor of Bakar, which is has a 5,000-year history here. I mean, Croatia is really has had inhabitants since time immemorial. So it's quite a sight, and I'm here on the coastal line, which is truly spectacular. It's a very tough drive, but it is spectacular. And so I post a photo here, a little bit of the history. You can pause the video if you want to see that. And it was also very, very tough. It's getting very hot, of course, very, very hot. And so my phone goes into more or less dark modus again, which makes it really tough because you have so many turns. I mean, every 2 kilometers you're supposed to turn somewhere, and I have to stop and hold my hands over the phone to make out whether I'm still in the right spot. So it's going relatively slowly because of the stupid dark modus. Okay, Robert, also das ist diese ganze Armatur hier und du siehst, wie er hier rausrutscht. Wenn ich noch weiter ziehe, hüpft das Kabel raus. Das ist das Problem. Du musst nur, das ist eine andere Schraube, das ist schon hier provisorisch gemacht, deswegen ist das alles ausgepfotzt. Das habe ich vorgestern provisorisch gelöst hier. Diese Schraube, die hier reingeht, rausziehen. Die Kabel, die kommen alle, da ist ein Schlitz drin, das kommt alles raus. Es kann sein, dass du zum Abziehen, dass du den Lenker etwas nach rechts stellen musst, falls das Kabel nicht genügend lang ist, um hier rauszukommen. Das ist die Möglichkeit. Aber das ist eigentlich nur diese Schraube lösen, die da drin ist. Die sieht dann ganz anders aus, das ist alles selbst gemacht hier. Und dann einfach abziehen. Also es ist wirklich nicht schwer. Okay, also schon mal vielen Dank im Voraus. So I'm in a tiny little village here, just after Split of sorts, and I'm looking forward to my hotel, where I will stay for 3 full days. That has partially to do with the mofa, but I will tell you the story when I'm at the hotel. So I have arrived in Vodice 2 days ago. And that's to a large part because a very good friend of mine is leaving from my hometown and going to a camping place here in this area. And I had asked him to bring me this handlebar from my other mofa. As you know, for many days now I had the problem that this handle doesn't hold in and keeps slipping out. And so it doesn't click in, and I have to hold the gear always in place, otherwise it slips out, and have to press it to the left, and it has proven to be rather strenuous over a couple of days to do that. So I called him up and said, hey, if you're coming into southern Croatia at the coastline, why don't you bring me the part from my other mofa? Just unscrew it and bring it down, and then I can fix it this way. And so he very graciously agreed to do that. And so I've been hanging around in Vodice now for a couple of days. He's arriving today and bringing me the part. And so I'll give you a quick summary on what has gone wrong with the mofa so far. So issue number 1 was it didn't have enough oil in it, and it was the wrong oil. Well, not the wrong, it was the correct one, but the clutch plates glued together. And so I put in some thinner oil that's normally intended for the M4 automatic mofas, and it's starting to unstick the clutch plates, which makes the operation of this vehicle a lot easier. Then obviously there is the handlebar that broke, so that's being replaced today. And my speedometer is out. So that I won't fix. I use my telephone as speed indicator, and that seems to be working all right. But I have to say, it's interesting how the engine performs. As you know, it has a new piston rod in it, and it's just like magic. I mean, it has probably more than 3 horsepower now. That was the original horsepower. It just pulls like crazy. And as I'm driving along over the hundreds of kilometers, by now thousands, it gets faster and faster and faster. So in order to prevent it to over rev while driving, I have to constantly cut back on the gas, because if I let it run, it goes 60, and it's just totally over the top. And I don't know how long how it could last. So I'm trying to keep it between 50 and 55. And so because I use so little gas, when I check my spark plug, it's now white because it's not getting enough gas. So, but that's something I can live with, and that's fine. Sometimes when I then go uphill, I have to give full throttle, and so that balances things out again. But so far, so those are the 3 things that kind of gave in on this trip. But the engine, the rebuild was fantastic job by the way, MTS Schubert Moped parts and rebuilds. They only do engines, but boy, do they a fantastic job. And yeah, so today I'm meeting my friend in probably 3 or 4 hours, and then I can fix the gearbox, and then I'll decide, not gearbox, the gear handle, and then I'll decide what I'm further gonna do. So the motor is well enough, it's not fixed yet, but drives well enough that I could venture into downtown Vodice, and it's a very rare sight here that you see some old buildings. I guess the war in Croatia really took its toll, because there's very, very few old houses. So I will take a few photos. Wow, the church is so full. They're standing outside, the people during Mass. Amazing. So the YouTubers, I'm now here on a the little motor island with my little mofa. This is my crazy friend who brought the spare part from Regensburg to fix this thing here, the gear selector. And we're contemplating to give Mofi a little ride here on the boat, but it didn't fit. So I had to contend with just my friends. And it was a beautiful afternoon, even though without Mofi. Wow, so I'm now from the coastline going on the small streets to Zagreb, and then make a left turn there and start going home. So, very interesting landscape here. Much of Croatia feels like the Nevada high desert because it's so dry and quite barren, only usually low growth brushes and that kind of stuff, and very dry climate. It's very interesting, and now I'm going through the mountains, and it feels like the Dolomites. I'll show you. So through the trees here you can see these white, barren, fairly high stone mountains. So that's not snow on top, that's just the sun reflecting off the barren stone. And it's fascinating landscape. So I have to apologize in advance. Again, the phone is dark because of the extreme heat. So I'm not really quite sure what I'm filming, but I must say it is amazing how unforgiving much of Croatia's landscape is, which explains a lot about low economic activity, low population density. I've been driving now for the last 100 kilometers, and this was my my view all the time. Just very tough land, very windy, very dry. It's really unforgiving landscape. Amazing. But so I hope something got onto the camera. So I found a new trick. Whenever I'm at a gas station, I put my telephone into the freezer. I just got it out of here. So it cools down and gives me for 10 minutes directions before it shuts down again because of the heat. So that's my newest trick that I have found. Wow, look at this. I'm sort of in the circumference of Zagreb, about 50-70 kilometers, and there has been an absolutely complete change in landscape. Now you see luscious fields, luscious trees, horses on a meadow, some cows and so on, and an absolute complete change of the landscape. Wow, beautiful. So good morning. I'm here in Samobor. That's by the way, second last day, still northern Croatia. And as I told you in the previous video, since 100 kilometers around Zagreb, all of a sudden things became absolutely luscious. And all of a sudden you also started to see some old churches. Samobor here is started sort of in the 1100s, 1200s, has a lot of history and a lot of beautiful angles to it. And so I finally get a little bit to see of the historic Croatia. As you know, the other side was rather barren at the coast side. And so where I am here is sort of now very representative, my little hotel, on what it looks like. It is luscious, it is green, it is beautiful. There are little castles and castle ruins and signs of an actual past. And let's not forget that Croatia was staunchly communist until 1989. And so the traces are still to be seen everywhere in the poorer hinterland of that. Very dilapidated houses clearly built quickly after Second World War and then never fixed up. And so this little bubble here around around Zagreb is quite remarkable. It's absolutely beautiful. And I'm just wondering, I mean, much of the land, and I never knew that, is really so unforgiving that you can't really live there. It's amazing to see. But anyway, I'm now off to Austria, to Grieskirchen, and see whether I'll make it there tonight. All right, I'm now in Slovenia, and it's compared to what I have been driving through, an absolute paradise. I mean, these beautiful churches dotting the landscape, and I'm gonna look inside on this one, but I drove by dozens of those, but this is the time to actually look at one. All right, so again, I have no idea what I'm filming. The screen has more or less shut down, but I'll hope there will be some pictures on it. And the screen shuts down, of course, because of the heat, relentless heat. And so we'll walk up these stairs. See, if I were a better Catholic, I'd be going up on my knees here. I'm very curious what it looks inside. I mean, from the outside, it's probably a beautiful Baroque church, judging by the outside. And the idyllic Pfarrhaus. That's where the priest lives. Wow, that is gorgeous. That is Bavarian High Baroque. That is absolutely gorgeous. Of course, it's all locked. The iron gate here that I'm in front of, so I only get a little bit of an impression.
Nach links abbiegen, auf Slatka Gora zu bleiben.
But holy moly, it's like I'm back in Regensburg. That's what every church looks like there. But holy moly, beautiful. So, I'm having my first Austrian Fanta. We just entered Austria, went through Slovenia, and I suspect a little bit of Czech Republic, I'm not sure. On these tiny roads, they often don't bother telling you which country you're at. But what is also very cool here, so it's the first gas station in Austria here, and this is a 24-hour store that you enter with your bank card, and then you pay automatically. It's a little supermarket that is unstaffed. Cool. And so that's why I bought this Fanta. That's rather progressive for Europe, I'm surprised. So this is my last day. I'm now smack in the middle of Austria. And 300 kilometers left to home, so should be home in about 7 to 8 hours. So I just entered Germany about 5 kilometers ago. Now it's another, I'm just at Passau here. So it's another 120 kilometers home, and wow, I've done it. I wonder whether the mofa will hold up. We'll see. So far, the engine is running very well. I think my my hub in the rear wheel is starting to get weak, but it should make it. Wow, I made it home. This was brutal. As you know, I've gone on my Bergman to Morocco and so on, and I have explored the continent on Vespas and this and that, but making an almost 3,000 kilometer trip, well, not quite, maybe 2,500 kilometers on that mofa. That was brutal, but also very, very enjoyable. So I will, by the way, add a link to this video with a technical description of the trip, everything that broke, all the stuff that held up very well, how I prepared for the trip and what worked and what didn't and so on. That'll be tagged on down below, a link for that. But wow, so I made it. Thanks very much for watching.